He's especially. Well, Peter, you might be the first person on this planet that has ever shut me up for this long. Good old Heraclitus, I tell you, that wild and crazy guy.
If I came to you and I gave you $10,000 for 20% of the company,
deal. Yeah. So, is that a verbal?
Younger than us, sorry to say, Joseph.
What, younger than 20?
Joe, we're just trying to help you because clearly you've lost control of the conversation.
I never, you know what? With all due respect, I never had control of the situation. Doesn't mean I'm gone. What doesn't kill me makes you stronger.
Look at you. You are insane.
How did I do that?
You're
insane.
You're insane.
Dun 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 dun. May the 4th be with you. It is May the 4th. And may the 4th be with you for all you Star Wars fans, nerds, geeks, dorks. I count myself amongst all 4 groups. It is a big day. It is a big day. And yes, Tom Morris, yes, it is a different dining room view today. We are sitting around a round table and we're just swiveling. It's a swivel. Remember, you can pivot, you can shift, or you can swivel. A swivel is as good as a holiday or something like that. My mom is here. She's watching. She's next door. You may or may not see her this week. And by may not, I mean may. You will see her. She will make her debut. But what day will she make her debut? That is what we want to know. Anna Bowman is here, and she loves the show, and the show loves you as well. And Tom Morris adds, here, there, and everywhere, from the beach in North Carolina to South Africa and all spots in between. That is exactly what a show about hope, positivity, and optimism is all about. Look, it is May the 4th, but it's also another day. It is anti-bullying day. It is a day that we stay strong and we stop bullying. It is a day when we wear pink, we put on our pink t-shirts, and we indicate ultimately that we're not going to take it anymore, that there is always a place, a space, a voice for every single person, no matter who they are, where they're from, and what their voice is. That voice will always be heard, and it certainly will always be heard on this show. The Psy Club says maybe a swivel is better than a pivot. That is, of course, an important point, because, and the Psy Club also says, hi, Mom, which happens to be my sister. It's a family affair. It's absolutely a family affair today. That is correct, Sharon, because at the end of the day, by swiveling, right, which is a kind of a pivot as well, you have one foot on the ground, and by moving around and changing your perspective and your angle, you absolutely have the ability to see things slightly differently. So well spotted as well. Also, well spotted that the Jaffe coin continues to expand. The economy continues to expand. My crypto creator coin is now $3.61. And by the way, my guest today, DC Crenshaw, DC, we should talk. I think we need a Crenshaw coin. We need a Crench coin, your own cryptocurrency. I certainly would buy into the Crenshaw expanding economy. There is no doubt. But you can buy into the Jaffe economy at the moment. And there are a whole bunch of ways of you being able to interact with me, get access to me, the show, each other, whether it's sponsoring an episode, whether it's time with me, or whether it's just a signed copy of my book, Built to Suck. I do love the fact that every single creator, every single individual can now actually use universal currency to be able to create a marketplace and a whole community ecosystem. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about your birthdays. Mr. Adam Zan, Mr. Jacob Sussman, Wesley Faulkner, previous guest on the show and current friend. Happy birthday to you, Wesley. And a whole bunch of people on LinkedIn, including Mr. Greg Harper, Kamal Rana, and James Hickey. Hope you guys are having a great day. Well, let's get into our seated soliloquy, and you're going to hear a lot about this phrase today. The phrase is persistence through resistance. I've spent a good deal of time over the past year and a half talking about two unrelated themes: resilience and tenacity on the one hand, and the power of endurance or staying power on the other hand. But what I haven't done is connect the dots. But tonight's guest is the muse to do just that. He calls it persistence through resistance. And I think it's the perfect bridge that also provides a roadmap to inspire, guide, and motivate us to keep going, keep our eye on the prize, maintain our focus on the journey and the destination. So how do you keep going through it all? How do you maintain focus? How do you stay motivated when every part of you says, give it up, slow it down, change course, turn it around? I think the answer comes down to being doggedly stubborn, refusing defeat without being delusional. Okay, maybe a little delusional is healthy as well. That reality distortion field that seems to protect and insulate entrepreneurs from external naysayers and outward critics that, when allowed in, can infect, pervert, and convince the voice inside you to join the chorus of cons. That's the power of persistence. And it is a power, even a superpower. Movement is a precursor to momentum. And the key word here is precursor. It's not a chicken and egg situation. It absolutely comes first. Movement. Get up, stand up, get going, keep going. As opposed to standing still, as opposed to stagnating, as opposed to atrophying, and in doing so, falling back and further behind. Some might argue that persistence through resistance is just another way of describing life, or at least living your life, loving your life, and living your life to the max. What is life without resistance? Does that even exist? How many of us have success fall into our laps without having to work, sacrifice, and suffer for the spoils? And in a life without resistance, where is the motivation for persistence? Where is the passion and the joy that comes from enjoying the fruits of your labor? Is it possible that it is the very resistance itself that actually inspires the persistence? We don't need all 10,000 hours to toil, just enough to give us the boost and the ability to push all the way to the finish line. Well, one person that has absolutely not only pursued the journey, but indeed the destination and the success that comes from meeting and exceeding specific milestones is my guest today, DC Crenshaw. DC Crenshaw is a food and lifestyle entrepreneur and personality. He is publisher of Fet Lifestyle magazine, a global digital lifestyle publication, and co-founder of Little Diners Crew, a dining club for kids that expands kids' palates beyond mac and cheese and chicken fingers. Thank God for you, DC. DC is the executive producer and host of the two-time Emmy-nominated docuseries Game Time Dine, which showcases and highlights professional athletes' passions away from the game via dining. He's also a business partner and brand ambassador for Cantera Negra tequila. DC was a cast member and judge on the first season of Food Network's popular show, Guy's Grocery Games, hosted by celebrity chef Guy Fieri. My wife loves the show. He also was featured as a culinary expert on Cooking Channel's TV series, America's Best Bites. DC attended Bowling Green State University and graduated with a BS degree in biology. And after graduation, he played in the Arena Football League and pursued an NFL pro football career. He is married, has 2 young sons, and quite possibly might be the most awesome person in the world. Let's say hi to him. DC, welcome to the show.
You know, I didn't pay you enough money to give me that intro, man. I got to kick you some more dollars via Venmo.
No, listen,
awesome.
not only can you tip me through my creator coin, but you're going to pay me even more money. And I'll tell you why. Because today's show is brought to you by Cantera Negra Tequila. Look up and you can see your logo.
I see that. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Yeah, I may go get a shot in a few minutes.
Cantera Negra Tequila. Taste is its own reward. Get it wherever fine tequila is sold.
There you go.
So DC, I'm going to take away this backdrop because I think, you don't want to see too many images of yourself, but I've got many other images that I think you will like. And, we're going to start off certainly talking about persistence and resistance. But before we do, and I did warn you with full warning that we'd sent our private investigators into the field to dig out some fun facts about you. You know what? After tremendous investigation, what we found out was, first of all, you used to be in a hip hop group in middle school,
Absolutely.
So,
yeah.
I mean, are you ready to perform? Are you ready to give us just a taste of what it was like to be in a hip hop group in middle school?
Absolutely. So, I can throw a rhyme down for you real quick. My stage name was DC Thrill, so and everybody calls me Thrill. So I just throw you a little line. So yes, they call me Thrill. They say that I'm the man. You disagree? How could you? Let me make you understand. I'm fresh as some bread, pulled right from the oven. When you feel rejected, come get some of my good loving. I am just as cold. That's just what I was told. You are a bomb. We are bomb. Together we explode. You like that?
Not only do I like that, but as I often say, you just made the new intro of the show. You've been immortalized. That was awesome. But I don't know if people are going to love you when they find out this interesting fun fact, which is you have something against apples, but not that apple. You just can't eat raw apples. Now, how do you cope in a foodie industry when you just say, no to raw apples?
Well, this has happened over the last 5 or 6 years, where I became allergic to raw apples and I didn't realize it. I would eat an apple and it would go down so well, but maybe 5 minutes later, I would start feeling nauseated. And I didn't really, I was like, what the heck's going on? And so I finally, I think I talked to a doctor, and then I looked it up online. I have allergies. I have seasonal allergies, and the same allergens that I'm allergic to are found in apples. And so when I ate an apple, I became nauseated because of those allergens. But if I eat cooked apples, I'm fine. Or if if any apples are cooked or anything like that, I'm fine.
If I had to connect the dots, I would have to say an apple a day keeps Thrill away. Or keep DC away. One of the two. I don't know.
I like the first one. There you go.
There you go. Mr. Chris Brogan is here, host of the Backpack Show, and he said certainly that that little performance was intro worthy. Well, we have one more interesting fun fact about you, and I mean, this is crazy. In your line of work in a food business, you can't eat apples. But here's another thing, which is you get really nervous when you fly and a plane hits turbulence. So I decided to go out and I researched, here are 7 tips to avoid getting nervous. Number 1, tell me, I'm sure you do the first one, which is sit in the front.
It depends. It depends.
If you're hiring
what
DC,
flight it is.
Listen, if you're a judge on Guy Fieri's grocery games, you book him in the front, Guy. You listen to me. Okay, number 2, get comfortable. All right, number 3.
That goes away when turbulence hits.
Okay, so number 3, remember, planes are the safest mode of transport, which probably doesn't, you're like, thanks, but I'm still nervous. Number 4, keep yourself occupied. So,
that I can't, because when the plane hits turbulence, then I stop everything I'm doing and then I'm just quiet. So,
all right, number 5, avoid caffeine and alcohol.
That's a good one. I may try that next time.
except for Cantera Negra tequila. That will never, I mean, that will relax you. Am I right?
And you know, yeah, you drink enough of it, then you won't feel the turbulence at all.
I mean, we could just stop there, but number 6 is listen to something relaxing, which actually might be, you know, your rap. But that's number 6. And number 7, which is very important to do, is just breathe. So,
yeah, I do that.
How many of those things? How many of those things were completely, absolutely worthless?
Most of them, except for the alcohol.
Well, there you go, and a specific, brand of alcohol. Well, I want to get into this subject, but one thing I saw, because you are in the food business, you're in the lifestyle business and the food business, and this actually just hit today. I don't know if you saw this. Top New York restaurant 11 Madison Park has gone completely vegan.
Wow.
That's pretty amazing, don't you think?
That is amazing, especially because, you have a lot of people that are resisting the whole plant-based movement, but the plant-based movement is picking up steam, but there's a lot of people that shun it. So to be a top restaurant like that and going all vegan, that's making a statement.
I mean, it totally is. And it also shows, one of the things we talk about, pivots and shifts and swivels, that sometimes, we can change incrementally or too slowly. And other times, like Netflix, right? Moving from DVDs to streaming, sometimes changes have to be kind of dramatic, like a big change. And that's probably an interesting segue, to your life, because, one of the things you talk about is finding your passion and ultimately, using that to make a pivot. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about that part of your life where you found your passion and you made a change in your life. I would love to hear that story.
Yeah, so, I'll start when I was in the pharmaceutical medical device industry, and I moved to Chicago. And in the medical pharmaceutical device industry, you have we wine and dine clients all the time. We take doctors out to lunch and dinner. That's how it used to be. I think it's changed now. But during that process, during working in that industry, I developed a passion for finding new restaurants and enjoying good food. And I would introduce my friends to restaurants on the weekends, and we would go out and have a good time. And when I moved to Chicago, Chicago was the largest city I had ever lived in, and the restaurant scene was just ridiculous. But I realized at that time that there was no Food Network, or there was no food magazines or anything food centric at the time that really alerted people to the newest restaurants that opened. So I created a dining club called FET, and it was really to connect foodies with new restaurants and restaurants with customers. And that's where I kind of developed this passion for really exploring new foods, new restaurants, and learning a lot more about it. Well, fast forward to 2008, I'm newly married. My wife is 3 months pregnant with our first son. And I get laid off from my pharmaceutical medical device job. That's when the recession started happening in 2008. And I went for 6 months, couldn't find the job. My son was born. And then 6 months later, I still didn't have a job. And so at that particular point, I had to make a decision whether I was going to depend on someone to hire me, or if I was going to follow my passion and do what I wanted to do and put a lot of energy in that to try to make it happen. And that's what I did. It was on my last interview, I remember, with a major pharmaceutical company, and I was one of the last candidates for this position. And the HR person looked at me and did wonder why I didn't have a job in a year. How come you haven't worked in a year? And I said, what are you talking about? There's a recession. And at that particular point, I was like, you know what? I got to do this on my own. And so I was, I made it a point to put all my eggs in this basket and follow what my passions were. And that's how it happened.
It's incredible because, DC, when people look at you and they look at your life, TV host. You're involved in so many philanthropic endeavors as well. We're going to talk about just all of your projects as well. I'm sure that the natural inclination is to just assume it fell into your lap, or to almost to just like, well, that's easy for him. He's the most good-looking guy on the planet. I mean, which is true, by the way. Just letting you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
But
I guess need more money. Send me more money.
Yeah. Just. But of course, now you tell us the story, and there's so many intricacies to the story. The first part of it is the fact that first of all, I would never, if you'd given me 100 professions, I would never put you in pharmaceutical sale. Like, I just wouldn't believe it. I look at you as a creative force. I look at these initiatives, and it's amazing how in our day-to-day, that even in something as, I don't want to say mundane or rote or part of, the personal selling game is to wine and dine, there was something that connected with you amidst everything. You held on to it, and you returned to it even 1 year later to become this central driving force in terms of your why, in terms of your purpose. It's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, what's so interesting is that pharmaceuticals was not my passion. It was a great living. It was something that I went to school as a biology pre-med major, so I utilized my degree in that particular field. But when I started my dining club, that was my passion. That was my outlet. That was my creative outlet. And, once I realized what my creative skills were, I always knew I had them. But once I committed to following my passion, I was able to actually utilize those skills and then gain some new ones, which I was not utilizing in corporate America. And people always ask me, how did you do this? How did you become this person? And I'm like, I created it. How did you get a TV show? I created a TV show. How did you become this food and lifestyle personality? Well, I created it. That's because I knew what I wanted to do, and I wanted to make sure that I learned everything about what I wanted to do, and surrounded myself by people that maybe gave me more knowledge. And then I embarked out and just started doing stuff and trying stuff, and ended up creating a TV show that got Emmy nominated when I had no experience at all as far as creating a TV show. But I wanted to be on TV, but no one was going to put me on TV because I didn't have that experience. And so I went out and I said, well, I'm going to make my own TV show. And that's what happened.
So like, for example, let's just say somebody wanted to become a late night talk show host. They would just create a talk show, a streaming talk show, and have, let's say, 247 guests on the show. It is I'm doing the DC Crenshaw way, but I love that answer. Was just it's so sublime. People said, how did you do it? And you basically just said, I just did. Just do it. I just did it. I created it. And it's funny because we talk about this whole idea of manifesting, right? Like the secret, like visualizing the outcome. But visualizing isn't good enough. You have to actually go and create it, and that's what you did.
Absolutely. You have to absolutely go out there and create it. And then in my case, with this TV show Game Time Dine, I was able to align myself or convince other people to join me in my vision, and to see what I saw, and convince them that, hey, this is what I want to do. Would you help me do that? And so the people were aligned with what I wanted to do, and it worked out, and it worked out for them as well. And so once you start out doing whatever you want to do or you want to create, you can find people that help you by aligning with them, but also you have to follow through and make sure that you do what you say you're going to do to help them, and also create quality work. And so, you got this podcast. 247 guests. How do you get 247 people? Because people probably, first of all, they believe in you. They believe in what you're doing. They see the type of guests you have on, and they see what they see your show, and they're like, you know what, I want to be a part of that. So, that's how you work it.
As a creator to creator, there is a magic moment, and I'm sure you've experienced it as well, when inbound meets outbound, right? Because you hustle, you chase, you sell, you pursue, as an entrepreneur, as a creator, and then one day, you get an email that says, hey, I would love to be on your show. What does it take to get on your show? What does it take to be on your show, DC? And that to me is almost like it's a tell. It's a spark that actually shows, wait a second, all the toil, the sacrifice, the blood, the sweat, the tears. Suddenly you realize, wait a second, this highway doesn't just run one way. There's actually now a lane that comes right back to the source. And I'm sure you experience that as well, where now people come and pursue and pitch you.
Absolutely. It's I call it validation, but we're not really looking for validation, but it's nice to have people appreciate what you bring to the table. So for Game Time Dining, for example, we showcase professional athletes, and then after the first season, the second season, I had agents calling me to get their athletes on the show. And so, that was just kind of validated that we put something out there that people liked and people want to be a part of. Even now, I've done a lot of these things. And so, there's people that reach out to me every day that want me to be involved in a project. And, because they see the value that I might bring to helping them do whatever. I just signed on with a young lady. She's a incredible, talented actor, writer, director, and she has a independent feature film called Awaken Her that I signed on to help raise money for the show, and hopefully will be a huge film. But that's just one aspect of what I'm talking about. Is she heard me on a podcast with another friend of mine who's an actor, and she checked out my magazine. She reached out to me. I liked what she was doing, and we connected, and now we're working together.
I love that. And, the old adage of success begets success, instead of chasing the big win, right? The Super Bowl, if you will, sometimes it just comes down to the first play or the first successful play. And what's happened with you is, as well, success has created, more success and more success. And it becomes, much like 247 guests, it becomes self-fulfilling. And by the way, this person that you just mentioned, please tell her now, in the spirit of paying it forward, that she is welcome any day, anytime to come on the show and promote her movie, which hopefully will be an inevitable success.
Absolutely. Carrie Lynn Miller. So we'll make sure I'll connect you with her. Absolutely.
Absolutely. So before we go, I want to go back to grocery games for a second, but before we get there, with I love the angle, professional athletes and understanding the role that food plays in their life. Have you had Tom Brady on your show yet?
No, but if you know Tom Brady, we love to have him on.
As it turns out, I don't know Tom Brady, but he's going to watch this episode and he's going to go, why the hell? He's going to almost fire his agent to say, why have you not put me on? But I mean, he has a very interesting approach with food, right? I mean, I think he's a vegan, and then some, and it's helped keep him young.
Yeah, I know he has a very strict food regimen that has helped him prolong his career. So, it's and he's one of those athletes, and there's more that are actually kind of following his lead. But he's one of those athletes that figured out what it takes what to eat, what not to eat, how to take care of your body in order to, do what you love to do for a very long time. And, kudos to him for doing that.
Well, we are launching Project Tom Brady, Get Him on the Show initiative. I will even donate some of my Jaffe coin to his agent, and we'll offer some Cantera Negra tequila. I feel like a whole collaboration here to get him on the show. But it's important. I mean, you are what you eat,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that kind of segues to a project. I'm going to jump around a little bit because something you're doing, I'm just absolutely fascinated by, and it's the Little Diners Crew. And I would love for you to tell us, I mean, if it's true that you are what you eat, what we, and I say we as Americans, for the most part, and I'm generalizing, we basically put cream and beige and nondescript colors into our children in a world of fried foods and, quite frankly, mac and cheese and mac and cheese and mac and cheese and chicken fingers. And then DC Crenshaw comes along to change that. So please tell us about Little Diners Crew.
Absolutely. So, we have two little boys. Well, they're not little anymore. They're 12 and 9, but we have two young boys. And my wife grew up in Vancouver, British Columbia. And her palate was probably a little bit more sophisticated than mine as a child growing up because, she's traveled a lot more than I did when I was at that age. But when we got married, we introduced our kids to the foods that we ate. And we would go to restaurants and our kids would order sushi or they would order calamari and parents would be blown away by watching our kids eat this food. And they always asked us, how did you get your kids to eat different types of food other than mac and cheese and chicken fingers? And so, the answer was simple. We exposed them and we gave them what we ate. And so we came up with this concept of really introducing kids to different foods from around the world and in a way that's going to not only expose them to new foods, but allow them to have this food experience. And, and so what we do on a monthly basis is we try to pick out a country that we're going to visit, and then we find a restaurant that actually creates that cuisine or serves that cuisine. And then we work with that restaurant and the chef to create a tasting menu of about 4 to 6 dishes that are approachable but yet adventurous. And when the kids arrive, they sit at their own table. They're greeted with a mocktail. The parents sit at their own table. The kids get a chance to meet the chef, takes them through the menu, talks about the restaurant, and he serves each dish. He explains what each dish is, how it's made, where ingredients are sourced. The kids get a chance to taste it. They rate each dish, and they get a chance to ask questions. And at the end of the experience, they have a passport that gets stamped that kind of tracks their culinary journey with Little Diners Crew. But not only do the kids love it, the chefs and restaurants love it because they're really introducing food to their next generation of foodies. The parents love it because now their kids are being exposed to other foods, and now they're expanding their palates, and now they're going to try more things at home. And it's really about the food experience. And, in doing so, kids are going to probably make better selections as they get older, instead of just gravitating to fast food and, the things that are simple or that are, they're only exposed to. They're going to be able to and want to explore more food options.
So Glenn says, my children always ate sophisticated food because I did not want them to eat the way I did. I'm amazed how well they eat and the variety of foods they love. And Tom Morris adds, what a great idea to get kids excited about new foods. And I also love how you've turned it, DC, into an experience by just actually almost replicating this idea of going to a fancy Michelin star restaurant, getting your amuse-bouche, sitting at the chef's table. It almost seems you know, so simple, and the best ideas in the world are so elegant in their simplicity of being able to take that model and apply it to kids and actually realize, wait a second, this is the opposite of stuffing your face while being on your mobile phone while watching television, that you're actually focused on the food and the story behind the food. So it's quite brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, kids will, you'll buy a kid a toy and they'll play with it for 2 days or 3 days. A kid will be on a video game and they'll get a new battle pass, and then they want another one 2 months later. And they'll forget that game once they grow out of it. But when you give them experiences, they're going to take that forever, and they're going to remember that forever. And especially when you have food experiences, you think about adults, and you think of just about anybody in general. We have the most memorable experiences when it comes to food, when it comes to dining, whether it's with your family, whether it's an amazing restaurant that you went to when you were on vacation, or whether it was the school cafeteria where you hated the food. So, you know, it's really about the experience that they're going to take with them, and that's going to be very positive, and that's really going to set them up for great experiences down the road.
I mean, I think we all recognize that experiences always trump transactions, and I think maybe one of the things we do is we discount even paying a premium for an experience, but what endures is the experience. I mean, I remember, you know, my wife and I going to Daniel for our anniversary. We will always remember that evening. Exactly. even when we receive the bill, the check, and we're like, but I mean that whole evening, the service, everything came together, and when you add up all the number of satisfactory average moments in your life, they don't hold a candle to one superior experience.
You're absolutely right, and now I have to tell you that we're adding another layer to Little Diners Crew. We're just about to launch Crew Food, which is our expanding palates at home. It's our online food delivery, and all the restaurants that we worked with, we're going to have a curated list of restaurants with their dishes that have been kid tested and kid approved. So it's going to make it easier for parents to order in from these restaurants and try new dishes with their kids that are rated, you know, excellent, good, or very good. And it's just going to be another way that parents can enjoy Little Diners Crew at home.
I love it. I mean, it's actually a way, interestingly enough, of kids connecting with their parents, parents connecting with their kids in a time, in a day and age where we are so disconnected.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I want to jump back to not just grocery games, but the fact that, you know, you were a judge, and I guess you almost, I mean, you use the word cast member. You know, we think about reality television, and what we don't realize is people are cast. They're cast to fulfill roles. There's the good judge, there's the bad judge, there's the Simon Cowell judge, there's the judge with an accent. Were you cast to be a specific personality or a specific character? And how close was that personality to your authentic self, the person that you are today, in your passions and in your endeavors?
Yeah, so when I was cast, they wanted to cast judges that were not necessarily chefs, but that were in the food business, I guess you can say. And so they cast me as someone that was a food and lifestyle personality that was passionate about food, being in Chicago, have, you know, obviously connected to a lot of different restaurants and chefs. So that's how I was cast, and unofficially, I guess you can say. But you know, when I met Guy, he didn't want the show to be pretentious. You know, he wanted to be like real people that were talking about food and judging these real chefs. And so, you know, how I was cast on the show was exactly who I am, as far as, you know, talking about the food and really enjoying the food. And it was my first time really seeing how talented some of these chefs were, especially with the challenges that they had. And I had three other judges that I was working with. And some of them were amateur chefs, but they were more in the food scene too. And they didn't necessarily own a restaurant or anything like that. But I think the show now, as I still watch it, there's more chefs that are judges on the show now than they were for the first season.
So one of the things that's interesting, I mean, something that you and I were chatting about is this idea of creating a brand that reflects who you are. You know, from your journey from, you know, pharmaceutical sales to today as this creative force with a portfolio of projects around food experiences, if you will. At what point did you know that you had found not just your authentic self, but also the brand that you are today? Because it seems like you always knew who you were, right? Even going back to that first casting as a judge. What advice would you give people that are trying to find, you know, ultimately find out who they are and where they fit in the world, in a place and a space that really just maximizes their passion and their potential?
Well, first, I never tried to be anything other than myself. So I never tried to be someone different than who I am, because that would actually show. And I've always been someone who was authentic as far as in my approach, and whatever I did, I wanted to, you know, come off as real. And you know, who I am, as you see me on TV, is who I am if you meet me in person. But you know, branding is really trying to understand who you are and what you're passionate about and how you want other people to see you. But at the same time, sometimes you're always kind of rebranding yourself, because you may have to pivot in a slight way. But who you are should stay. You should stay who you are, authentically who you are. That should never change. You know, the brands that you may represent, or some of the brands you might be associated with, you know, might be a little different from who you are, but you, the person, should always be who you are. You know, I've always been attracted to the lifestyle space, and I think lifestyle has become more of a buzzword over the last, you know, several years. But you know, I've always enjoyed, you know, nice things. I always enjoyed experiences. I always enjoyed meeting new people, experiencing new things, different cultures, and so that's who I am. But you know, you can package it up and say, you know, you're in the lifestyle space now, which is really just meeting people that I love to meet, talking to people that I love to talk to, and trying to learn their stories and understand their stories and really tell their stories. So that's basically, you know, who I've always been and who I am. I mean, I've hosted, when I was in college, I was hosting parties in college. You know, now they're just a little bit more elevated. But, you know, I've always enjoyed hosting people at my house, or, you know, wherever I was. But now it's just on a larger scale, or a bigger platform.
There's almost, I was thinking about, you know, from lifestyle to light style. And what I mean by that is, you know, because it is, you know, it is May the 4th, right? So a lightsaber it's move to the light, always move to the light, always move in the direction that feeds your light, your life force, you know, and your authentic self. And maybe, and for you, you know, when we look back on your life and your light, it was always just picking everything that brought you joy, you know, that made you happy, that motivated you to keep going. And when you've connected all those dots, it is you today.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there was a point in my, you know, entrepreneurial career where someone would come to me with an idea that was totally disconnected from what I was doing. And so either one or two things would happen. I wouldn't be able to really provide the value to this project that they wanted me to provide, or I would abandon what I was doing, what I was really passionate about. And so I realized that probably about 4 years ago, that I have to stick and stay tuned into what I am focused on and what I'm most passionate about. And I can't get pulled away, even though it might be a good idea. I need to stay focused on the lifestyle space that I'm in. And because that connects me with everything else I'm doing, and it allows me to, stay focused and, work as hard and bring the most value I can to all the projects I'm working on.
That is the essence of branding. It's about consistency, and I love how you've almost created your own rubric in terms of that which dilutes my passion or my focus or distracts me from that focus is clearly off-brand. Distraction. I mean, I think that's almost a soliloquy in of itself, which is to understand that distraction is the enemy of consistency and ultimately what powers brands.
That's a great way to put that. I totally agree. I mean, if you've ever, try to raise money, or if you ever talk to someone about their company or something like that, and you try to pitch an idea, a lot of times you might hear, well, that's not in line with what we do. And so, even though it may be the best idea ever, they may have to pass because it doesn't fit to, what they're trying to do. They're trying to stay on their within their narrative. So you're exactly right when you say that.
So Tom Morris adds, he says, life is always a balance between saying no and saying yes. We need to follow the path that's right for us and not wander off, no matter how great the alluring the other options may look. And I think that's the essence of it, right? Which is with success comes more offers and more projects and more opportunities. It probably becomes harder, versus easier, because there's more noise, there's more choice, for someone like yourself to stay committed, to things like, and that's why I love what you've done, right? Which is you could be doing anything or everything at the same time, but you're still committed to iteration next of Little Dinah's Crew.
Right, exactly. You have to, obviously I pick and choose, how I spend my time. The most valuable thing you have is time, and everyone knows that. And so I pick and choose, where I need to spend my time and how I should spend my time, because, that's going to equate to how successful a project is. And, where I used to be off track and try to be everywhere, now I'm focused in. And I think people have to stay focused on what they can actually work on to help them be more successful within their career. Now, I help people that may not be connected to what I'm doing. So there might be someone that comes to me that needs a connection in a space that I'm not in, and if I'm able to make that connection, I will. But I can't be intimately involved in something that I'm not in that space.
I really like that nuance, because Bob Farnham, he said it's more important to say no sometimes than to say yes. But I like the fact that you will still try and get to yes, but it's a quick yes with a quick action, right? Because you want to help someone, but that you're limited in terms of the time that you can allocate, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly right. Very well said. Yeah.
Well, one project that you did say yes to was, of course, Cantera Negra tequila. Taste is its own reward. So, I mean, listen, there are a lot of these amazing, Aviator gin, for example. It's wonderful to see celebrities and personalities and entrepreneurs align with brands, and tequila, and also tequila has been a really, really powerful category. So tell us a little bit about this project. Why did you say yes, and what makes Cantera Negra the best tequila in the entire world, bar none?
Yeah, so probably 10 years ago, I launched another tequila with someone in Chicago. It was a young guy that I knew his girlfriend, and she said, "Hey, can you meet with my boyfriend? He has this tequila he's trying to launch in Chicago." And I knew nothing about the spirits industry, but I knew a lot of restaurants. And so I actually sat down with this guy, and I tasted his tequila, and I loved it. And so I was like, this is an opportunity for me to get involved in this, because he didn't know how to write a business plan. He didn't know how to get distribution or anything like that. And neither did I. I knew how to write a business plan, but I didn't know how to get distribution. And so we partnered, and we were able to bring it to market here in Chicago. And so that's where I kind of learned about the spirits industry, specifically tequila. I walked away from that particular brand for many reasons, probably about 5 years ago. And a guy, one of my buddies I played college football with, he kept telling me about this brand that his buddy was bringing to the United States from Mexico. And he was picking my brain about some stuff. And I said, just send me a bottle, man. Send me some samples. So he sent it to me, and I tasted it, and I was blown away. I was like, this is the best tequila I've ever tasted. And I immediately texted him, and I was like, how can I get involved? So I'll make a long story short. I got involved with the tequila, became a business partner, and we're in 24 different states now. We arrived in Illinois pre-pandemic, but last year we started rolling it out, and this year we've been really successful at rolling it out in Chicago, Illinois. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I'm kind of licking my lips at the moment. I'm so thirsty. Sorry, carry on.
So what makes Cantera Negra such a great tasting tequila, the best tequila I've ever tasted? First of all, it's a lowland tequila, which means that we source our agaves in the lowlands of Jalisco, Mexico, our agave is grown in rich black volcanic rock soil. So you get into the different minerals and different flavors from that agave. And we don't harvest our agave till it's fully mature. So fully mature agave has a lot more different types of flavors. Our distillation process is we double distill our tequila, but we age our tequila in our own barrels that we make in-house. So we have our own in-house coopers, and we age our tequila in oak barrels that we make, and we have a master blender. So our master blender actually blends the tequila so that it comes out perfect every time. And none of our tequila is bottled until our tasting panel actually approves it. And so you're going to have consistency and taste throughout. But the big brands like Casamigos, when people compare us to that and the taste test, we win hands down. Michael Jordan's tequila Sincoro is good, but this we don't have any additives or anything like that. It's all flavor. It's all aged. It's the silver's not aged, but what our process is such an award-winning process, and it's been over 40 years since the family has been making tequila down in Jalisco, Mexico. So that's why it's the best out there.
It's amazing. As Tom said, this is the first show that's made me salivate. And, and DC, you're talking about a story. Andy Enriquez is on the show on Thursday. You're talking about the power of story, the power of experience that transcends the functional, the mundane, the transactional. I hope you like this whole image around you. We're surrounded by Cantera Negra. And you know what? I'm talking to the producer, and they're telling me that Cantera Negra is now the official tequila of the show, of Late Night Jaffe. So
there we go. There we go. I love it. Here we go.
the deal has been done. In our final few moments left, we worked. We normally would have started with the persistence, via resistance, but I want to kind of bring it back because with following your passion, with the success that you live, where success begets success, clearly there were some tough times, including, and maybe, you know, led by being laid off and being essentially a year, I wouldn't say out of work, but a year basically creating, you know, your brand. What advice would you give about the power, or about that mantra, right? Persistence through and via resistance. How did you keep going?
Well, you know, let's just start, you know, when, as being an athlete, you know, being able to play college football and then coming out and playing a little pro football, you're always going to have tough times. You're always going to have to persevere. And I believe that my upbringing, especially being an ex-athlete, has always helped me to dig down and keep going and keep moving, and knowing that, you know, we can get to the final destination, and it's going to take a lot of hard work. Even if you get knocked down so many times, you got to get back up. But I also, you know, what keeps me going is just my willingness to prove people wrong. You know, I hear so many no's. You hear more no's than you hear yeses throughout my whole life. But it's that yes that keeps me moving. That's that yes that keeps me saying this is possible. And having us, you know, people that believe in you helps as well. I think sometimes we all, as entrepreneurs or people that are out there just working, trying to make that daily grind, you know, there might be something that happens to us in our life, but you might get an email, you might get a phone call, you might get a text that out of the blue that says, hey, I love what you're doing. You know, keep doing it. You know, I enjoy this, I enjoy that. And that adds a little bit more gas to the tank, and makes me want to keep going. And then, you know, it's just my kids, my boys. I want them to, they've only known me as an entrepreneur. When they were both born, you know, I never had a corporate job. And so they see me grinding every day, and they see all the things I'm doing, and really trying to show them and give them an example of what it takes to, you know, get to the next level, which is hugely important for me. And, you know, I just having faith, you know, I have strong faith in God, and, you know, that always helps me get through. You know, when I get to a tough point, I say a prayer, and, you know, I just try to leave it up to Him to help me get to, you know, the next phase.
What a beautiful, beautiful answer, and a beautiful way to end the show. If God drank tequila, we know He would drink, or she would drink, Cantera Negra tequila. I mean, that there is no doubt. But I love 2 points there that I would just, you know, touch on right at the end. Number one is the life of a professional athlete is hard and tough and fraught with adversity and injuries, and the percentage of athletes that don't make it. And I think just even that little perspective, that little glimpse, is helpful, because we see all the glamour, and what we don't see is everything behind the scenes. But the one thing that you said, going back to being an entrepreneur, is you're going to get 1,000 no's to every yes, but that one yes, savor it, you know, love it, embrace it, and use that simple yes to be able to power you on and keep moving. And I think it is the power of yes. It is the power of yes to success.
Absolutely right. Yes to success. Is powerful. And, you know, to have people that support you and want to see you succeed is also powerful. And, you know, people like yourself that are giving us a stage like this, a platform, you know, that means a tremendous amount to me, and I'm sure to all your other guests.
Well, listen, you know, DC, you are my favorite guest by far. 247, you know, until tomorrow. But, you know, exactly. Kate, you got to raise your game if you want to, like, you know, if you want to take on the Tequila King himself. We always have a quote of the episode. Your quote is, "It always seems impossible until it is done." If you want to know who said that, someone very near and dear to my heart and close to my homeland and heritage, it's Nelson Mandela. It always seems impossible until it is done. Well, you are doing it. You've done it. You do it. May you continue to do it. DC, for those of you that want to connect with you and find out more, DC, aka Thrill, we can say, you can connect with him on LinkedIn. But most importantly, just follow him, DC Crenshaw, Fet Lifestyle Mag, Little Diners Crew on pretty much all the socials. You can join him in the Clubhouse. He's DC Crenshaw on Clubhouse. Subscribe to the magazine or find out more about how you can become a part of the magazine. Join the Little Diners Crew. Make sure your Little Diners join the Little Diners Crew. And most importantly, become part of the revolution. Cantera Negra Tequila, the official sponsor and the official tequila of the show. DC, anything that I left out that you want to add?
Not at all, man. You hit it right on the nail. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It is, it's been an absolute pleasure and privilege. And listen, if you are ever looking for a celebrity to endorse your tequila, he may not be the most interesting man in the world because he is even above the most interesting man in the world. It would have to be Chuck Norris.
You are Chuck Norris approved.
And you are Chuck Norris approved. Take care, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow with Kate. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching the show about hope, positivity, optimism, and if there's time left over, a little bit of marketing with your host, multiple author, and global keynote speaker, Joseph Jaffe. If you like the show, tell a friend or two. Please subscribe to the show, and if you want to get inside news, previews of upcoming guests, and much more, visit josephjaffe.com/subscribe to sign up for the show's newsletter.
And despite the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.